Okay, well, again, good morning, good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to Patio Perspectives, our monthly series where I write a blog and then we interview a leader in the sustainable event space. Really happy to have everyone here today. We have a great guest, and I'm going to just talk about that in just a second here. I just wanted to alert everybody that even though this is a monthly series, we are going to take a pause in December for the holidays, but we will definitely be back in January. We have a number of great guests that we're looking into, and so stay tuned for that. The Society for Sustainable Events website has all of the accompanying blog posts. The San Francisco, or the Society for Sustainable Events YouTube channel has all of the previous recordings. This is episode 7, so there are 6 up there already. I just wanted to start this perspective by saying it's not too late. We all sometimes get caught up in the fact that, oh, it's just too late. We've already missed our opportunity for solving all of these issues around climate and global warming and whatnot. I want to say it's not too late. I put in the chat, hopefully everybody can see it, a link to an interesting site that my friend Chance Thompson sent me this morning. And what I want to say is that, there's no time for despair right now. We need to get past despair and focus on the positive and collectively get to work. So that's kind of what my positive message for this morning. This is going to be a slightly different format today due to some scheduling conflicts. Lindsay was actually not available to do this right now. So we pre-recorded our conversation last week, and we will play that for you in just a second. And I will be back at the end to wrap up. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A, and I can come back and answer at the end. Or if you have questions specifically for Lindsay, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A as well, and we'll email them to her, and she has promised that she will answer them when she has a chance. Okay, so I just want to start by thanking our sponsor for this episode, the 1 Hotel. And at the end, one lucky attendee will win a lovely burlap shopping tote from the 1 Hotel San Francisco that includes some great 1 Hotel and Bamford Spa branded products, compliments for the 1 Hotel San Francisco, and Joel Costa, Director of Sales and Marketing. Okay, so with that, let me just introduce our guest for today. Lindsay Arell is a recognized leader in the area of sustainability within the hospitality industry. She has experience working as both a planner and a supplier, which provides her a unique perspective of what is achievable and how to overcome common and not so common roadblocks. Lindsay has experience working with a whole bunch of different sustainability standards. She was very involved in the original ASTM Apex standards, and she serves as the chair of the Event Industry Council Sustainability Committee. She's the past chair of the ASTM Committee on Hospitality Sustainability. And in addition to being a published author and international speaker on the subject of sustainability in the hospitality industry, Lindsay has also received the following professional recognitions. She's been named Top 25 Women in the Meeting Industry 2017 by Meetings and Conventions, the Convention Industry Council 2014 Pacesetter Award for Sustainability, named Top 40 Under 40 by Connect Meeting Magazine, and recognized as 2012 Industry Innovator by BizBash Magazine. She is also the principal and a co-founder of Honeycomb Strategies. Honeycomb Strategies are sustainability specialists for events and venues. They help trade shows, conferences, venues, stadiums, destinations, and more to identify sustainable solutions, engage stakeholders, develop data management systems, and implement programs so that events can thrive. From immediate action planning to long-term goals, their work helps clients demonstrate leadership and commitment to environmental and social sustainability. And as a woman-owned business and accredited B Corporation, Honeycomb Strategies aims to inspire people to see sustainability as both an opportunity and a responsibility. So with that, let's go ahead and start the recording, and let's listen to our conversation, and I'll see you at the back end. We need audio. Sorry about that, folks. A little technical glitch. And while Jody works on that, just hang loose for a second. Well, Lindsay Arell, welcome to Patio Perspectives. It's so great to have you. I know we've been trying to schedule this for quite a while, and somehow your travel schedule always seems to get in the way. But we're so appreciative of you taking the time to do this, and I know this is going to be a great conversation. So let's just dig right in. You and I have both been working on this for a really long time, and it feels like there's been progress, and there seem to be more people focused on and working on sustainability for events than ever before. Yet sometimes it feels like we still have a long way to go to get to a net zero, waste-free, people-centric, and sustainable event industry. Just from your perspective, where do you think we are right now at this moment? What keeps you up at night? What are you worried about? What excites you?
Yeah, well, first off, yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation. And yes, it's been a busy travel season. Hopefully it starts to calm down. But yes, I agree. I think that we are definitely the conversation around sustainability for events is at the forefront more than ever. As you said, we've been talking about this for quite some time. And it has seemed in the past, there seemed to be some like momentum, and then it would take a back seat, and then it would take, a few years to kind of bubble up as a priority again. But right now it seems like it's really kind of here to stay. I think maybe in terms of like where the industry is, I think you're right. We have a long way to go. And I think one of the biggest challenges is the looseness in which we're throwing around terms like carbon neutral, zero waste, those things, because I think a lot of, and it's not just our industry, but I think even big corporate initiatives are making these like pledges and commitments, and then they don't really fully understand what they're really committing to and what it's going to take. And so while very much admire like putting a stake in the ground and making those goals, I think the real work is in that first phase of understanding where we are as an event, and then as an industry. And I think that's the conversation that is really happening right now, that I'm really excited about, is people are really understanding the importance of understanding their metrics and what their true impact is. And then because from there, that's when you can actually build strategies to reduce those areas.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit that I was encouraged. I moderated a panel last week in New York for an event marketer event for event agencies, and I think event agencies have always been kind of outliers when it comes to sustainability. But there's been more interest than ever, I think, from the event agency side. And I think they're all starting to realize that it's something that they're going to have to take into consideration now. So that was definitely encouraging. So what is it that, you've done a lot of work with venues and destinations and establishing a database of venues and their sustainability policies and practices. So from a venue perspective, how do you think venues are doing in general, and where do you see areas that still need improvement?
Yeah, I mean, I think venues are such a big, part of the puzzle, right? And but it's really necessary that the venues and the event organizers are talking. And so I think in terms of there are some venues that are just really embracing it and really see the value, not only in terms of like the level of service to their clients, but also they're recognizing the actual cost savings and like efficiencies that sustainability practices really can do for their building. And so that's really exciting. But again, I think the biggest challenge is that the practices are so wildly different across all of the venues in North America, and even the way that they are. And it's not all the venues' fault, right? Like some municipalities accept certain materials and others don't, and then some they're totally subject to changes in regulation. And say for example, I got my start at the Colorado Convention Center and still help support their sustainability initiatives. And we were like one of the first venues to implement front of house compost. And that was a big deal when we did that in like 2007, 2008. And we, the compostable serviceware was really expensive, but we took that on. And so we've been doing that, since that time. So like 15, 16 years. And then this past April, our compost facility said that they were no longer going to accept compostable serviceware. Oh, wow. And that was, across the board for, everyone in the Denver metro area. So that's, the airport, the universities, and so from there, it's like, wow, we've built an entire program around the ability to offer this to clients, and now we have to shift. And so I think that's one of the challenges of the venues, but I think it's, as long as you're like steering, kind of clear on where you want to go, I think that's, how you gotta try to stay the course. But I think, overall, again, venues are starting to recognize the value. We do a lot of work with ASM Global, which actually, just announced yesterday an acquisition by Legends. But part of our work with them is looking at how do we roll out some of these practices across all of their convention centers. And so, looking at where are the commonalities. And so that's one of the things that we're really excited about, and I'm really excited about like activating on.
Yeah. And we push event planners in particular and conferences and meetings to measure their impact and to report on it. Are we pushing venues to do the same thing? Are venues actually measuring their own overall impact and starting to report on it so that event planners have some idea when they're going into a venue what to expect and what they can actually achieve from their event?
Yeah, so I think there's two things there. So all venues, well, I shouldn't say all. Venues, in terms of energy, wastewater, already like that is information that they're getting for their overall impact usually, right? Yeah. Or they have access to that usually, just if they work with their waste hauler or their utility or whatever. But I think the challenge is not, the venue's overall impact. It's how do you measure the impact for a specific event? And I think with that, if it's a full facility show, that's a little more straightforward, because you can, ask your utility for the energy consumption from this date to this date. You can measure your waste collected like that. But when it's, you're one event and there's 5 other ones in the building, you really have to kind of get creative with how you're going to kind of, I guess, attribute your impact in that building. And a lot of our venues aren't like sub-metered to space. They're like more sub-metered, or they're like metered per like operating system. So, maybe their HVAC system or, what have you. But so there's more in, I think, we're getting approached by, or like companies that are, offering solutions for more targeted data collection, in the venues. But that's the biggest challenge. And I think, not to put it back on the event organizers, but I think, I've said this for many years, the more that the event organizers push for this, the more the venues are going to have to respond. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
of
how
course.
business works,
Yeah,
right?
of course, absolutely. So are you starting to see, venues in particular? Are there venues that are really stepping up and, doing a great job incorporating sustainability into their daily operations? And here's the big question, if there are, should we actually be rewarding those venues with more business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would argue any venue that's looking at sustainability, then they have their operation like pretty dialed in, right? Like if they have the ability to really have a like holistic sustainability program, then to me, that just like any business is a sign of really, understanding how your systems work together, being efficient, all of those things. And so there are, I mean, I think, there's some of the ones that you would expect, like Moscone Center, it just, announcing their LEED Platinum certification. And, they've been really a leader in sustainability, I had to say Colorado Convention Center, but, you look at what, is happening at Huntington Place in Detroit or the Pennsylvania Convention Center, like really look, those, are examples where they're, in Detroit, their first thought isn't always sustainability, but the team on the ground there has just been totally at the forefront and has made that a priority for so many years. And they're really incredible at incorporating the local community and, kind of taking that broader picture of sustainability or broader definition of sustainability, where it's not just all about the environment, like they do that, but the way that they've expanded it into other, aspects of their operation is truly admirable.
Yeah. So how are people finding out about, what the work that venues are doing? Are venues actively communicating their sustainability practices? And, how do we help people to find the best venues and the best destinations for doing, sustainable meetings?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I think, some have pretty well built out maybe sustainability sections on their websites, but sometimes this work is just being done under the radar, right? Like
Yeah.
they are doing it because there's maybe someone who's really passionate and willing to take it on. And so, I mean, it's a good question. I don't know if there's like we have, rankings for so many things, right?
Right.
Like, is there a way to rank? And I don't know who would do the measuring.
Yeah,
How do we, you're right, like how
I
do
don't know
we,
either. Maybe you guys should be doing it.
yeah, fall, new project.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We did a back of house tour at the San Jose Convention Center for the Green Biz Verge conference a couple of weeks ago, and I was honestly surprised at how much the San Jose Convention Center was doing. I had no idea, that they were doing as much as they were doing, and that they were partnering with the city and partnering with their waste hauler. It's just like, how does the word get out for for organizations and for venues like that? It's a tough one, I think.
Totally. And I think, how, and I also see sometimes even again, going back to my work in Denver, a lot of times I think some of the planners will just assume we have sustainability in place, so they don't even ask about it either. And it's, I think just having that conversation and then, everyone talks and, especially, as, there's like, it's the like Informas and the Emeralds of the world, they know which ones, have
Right.
good practices and which ones don't, but sometimes they're
Yeah.
just beholden to like being in certain venues, right? Because of their
Sure.
size.
Yeah, and that's sort of the age-old catch-22, right? It's like, who should actually start that conversation, the event planner or the venue?
Yeah.
If the venue's got operating, practices, why are they not automatically pushing that to the event planners? Is it always the event planner that has to initiate that conversation? So,
Yeah.
I think again, this is where, we need some more communication in the industry around, who's doing a good job and how do we reward those people?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So moving on from venues, of course, that's not your only area of work. Honeycomb has been working with a variety of clients on their sustainability strategies and practices. Where are you seeing success, and what are you mainly focusing on with your clients right now?
Well, I'd start with, kind of all of the clients that I work with, are usually at a different phase of, where they are in terms of, their overall sustainability program. And they all have different motivations, and they all have, different, areas that they find most material to them. I'll go back, we always stress the importance of data collection, and collaborating and communicating with all of your vendors, like first and foremost, like at the very beginning of whenever we get contracted, that is like the very first thing that we ask for is a list of all of your vendors so that we can begin that conversation.
Right.
We're also seeing I think some of the cool things we're seeing is a shift away from, we talk about single-use plastic, and then like shifting to compostable serviceware or, aluminum or what have you. We're really excited to be working with some of our clients that are moving even beyond that, and they're moving straight to, looking at reuse options. So like we work with a company called Our Cup and Our World, and, that's what's really exciting too. There's, operational challenges with them, and we see some successes, and then in some instances we're like, it's a little more difficult, but that's something that I think is pretty cool. That's like being pushed, and something new. I would say some of the other really exciting things are just around, I guess, engagement of attendees.
Yeah.
And just really, to your point, I think some of the events used to be really nervous to maybe share their sustainability initiatives because they didn't want to get any backlash. But I think like really being able to like share out the efforts and, also communicate like that they need their attendees to work on that with them.
Right.
It's not, I guess that's like the underlying like theme, right? Like sustainability has to be a collaboration amongst the suppliers, the attendees, the exhibitors, all of those people have to work together. And so I think more and more our events that we're working with are less afraid, I guess, to like tell their sustainability story and like communicate like where their shortcomings are, and also like ask for help and participation by attendees.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I mean, I know when I was leading the effort at Oracle, I mean, we made a point of being as transparent as we possibly could. And in our sustainability reports every year, not only did we point out, the positive things that we were doing, but we pointed out the places where we felt like we missed and had opportunities for improvement. And I don't think any of us can really improve without kind of that same level of transparency. One of the things that we did at Oracle, for example, was, and it sounds like you're sort of doing the same thing, is, getting all of our vendors, the destination, the venue, all the different logistics vendors, even the waste hauler, even the public transportation people in a room so that we could sit down and kind of like come to a common agreement about what our goals and objectives were. Is that something that you're doing with your clients actively all the time?
Absolutely. And, so I would say it used to be, and in a lot of cases, it's like one conversation, but then as some of our clients have worked with Natural Products Expo East and West for, I don't even, like almost 10 years. And now like those, I guess their initiatives have become so sophisticated and like so ingrained. We have our larger group, but then within, their communications team and their sponsorship team and, their operations teams, then it's even, more drilled down. And so, but yes, like, it's definitely like, what are our goals? So for them, one of them is the elimination of single-use plastic. And so it's like, we have that goal for, 2025. What do we need to do incrementally, to get ourselves there? And so that's how we kind of plan as well. And that's, we're lucky in that case, like we have a long-term contract with them. So it allows us to make some, I mean, they can obviously make goals without being contracted with us, but
Right.
from a strategy standpoint, like it's just nice to be able to sit back and like do a true strategy, not just like,
Right.
year to year, which, that works too.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously take a very strategic approach when you work with your clients. Do you run up against barriers from event teams or whoever you're working with in terms of like, look, just give me a checklist of what I'm supposed to do. I don't care about the strategy. I just want to get my job done. How do you deal with that? The people that just want to do the tactical part of things.
Yeah, well, I would say would be the best type of barrier. I would say the bigger barrier are people that are like, don't, want to value engineer sustainability out of it, or they just see it as a cost center, or they
Right.
don't, so that's like the biggest hurdle is how do you switch that narrative from it being like, oh, it's, everything's going to be more expensive to, oh, this is an opportunity to, sell partnerships. This is an opportunity
Right.
to, really, elevate our brand. This is an opportunity to look for, efficiency. So I would say that's the bigger challenge and I think again, that is it. And that's for our venue clients and our, event clients. It's just the conversation that you need to like navigate.
Yeah.
Because, what comes down to it, it's I think this is less and less the case, but traditionally it's been a nice to have, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of clients there's a lot of event organizers out there that they do just need the checklist, and if they can just work on that checklist, then that's great too. Like however you need to get there,
Right.
that's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, running up against the cost issue has always been a problem. And it sort of amazes me that it's still an issue because I think that we've had the data points and kind of proven over the years that, to your point, it doesn't have to cost more. Material costs have come down. And, there are opportunities within this conversation, as you say, for sponsorships, for partnerships, for all kinds of various different things that can just increase your efficiency, increase your productivity, and lower the cost. But it really kind of comes down to, for me, is like, well, what's the cost of not doing it?
Yeah.
So,
Well, too, it's I think the more going back to the data piece too, I think the more we measure, some of like the true costs of some of our things, like I'll take the example of like show maps or show programs. If you were to really like take in the cost of what it is like to print all those show maps, to ship them in, and then put them out. You have to have the staff that's going to put them out. You have to pay for the structures, all of those pieces while they're there, to store them, all of that, and then counting how many are left over at the end of the show.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Those are dated, and then you have to pay to throw those away. Like if we were to do a true cost analysis of what that is, and then you'll look at, okay, so we do that with one of our clients. We say, okay, like just put ahead of time, like how many people are committed to, like ask people to commit to using the mobile app. Like so many people have mobile apps, and then you can reduce your count that you need that show the printed program by X amount. And then even after that, see how many you have left over. And usually it's like pallets and pallets and pallets. And so it's like use that information for your planning for the next year.
Exactly.
To be smart.
Yeah. And that's not even accounting for the cost of the carbon that gets put into the atmosphere from transporting all that stuff, or the trees that get that get killed for printing all that stuff. So I mean, there's all these sort of other kinds of costs that people aren't even taking into account at this point.
Exactly. And but from a dollars and cents point, there's true savings as well.
Yeah. So this kind of feeds into this conversation that I've just been thinking a lot lately about. How do we create more of a culture of sustainability within the event industry? Is this something that you're talking to clients about, or what are your thoughts about how do we get to a point where sustainability isn't just an afterthought, but is really part of the culture of an organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the conversation that I'm hearing is just with like I guess the new generation of planners, right? The millennials, whatever the next version is or is going to be, sustainability isn't a question for them. It's like, this is how you do it.
Yeah,
And so I think, even if we can't shift like, the older way of thought per se, or the old way of doing things,
right.
like it's coming. This is how, these are the new event organizers, these are the new clients, this is how they're looking to plan their meetings. And I would say, I also work with, and maybe Oracle would be like this too, but I work with an event where in order for their attendees to attend their event, because they're coming, it's a corporate event, they are having to, like, I guess the attendees of the event cannot get approval to attend the event unless it has a sustainability plan.
Mm,
And so I'm seeing that from more and more corporations that are saying, like, this is part of our overall sustainability strategy. It's not just, what's it going to cost for you to go there, but is this actually, an event that kind of follows along with our, overall, company values. And
yeah,
so I think that's shifting. And I think, again, for events, obviously especially trade shows, their, exhibitors are starting to demand, or the companies, that are exhibiting at these trade shows are starting to ask, well, what are you doing? And, we're not going, if it's either show A or B,
yeah,
and it's, which one are we going to attend to? We're going to do the one that, seems a little bit more, modern, I guess, and like aligns with our values in that way.
right, right. Talk about that a little bit more. I know that you've been contributing content to the Trade Show News Network and some of their other publications. How did that partnership come about, and how do you see the trade show industry evolving at this point?
Yeah, so that partnership came about, we just kind of communications on how can we, be a resource
Hmm.
to the industry, and just kind of like, quick tips, or, like, what are we seeing, or what should we be thinking about? And so we are really excited about that new partnership. And it comes out monthly, or even I think more frequently than that.
Uh-huh.
So that's really exciting.
So does
And
that mean there's sustainability kind of news and or content in every publication now that they kind of control
yeah, yeah.
on
So we're
on a
able,
monthly basis?
yep. So, and I think, and it's in through, and I will say I was not as involved in developing that partnership. That was through our marketing team and Amanda Simons, who
Right.
works with me. So, but it is in, I think, 3 of their publications. So
Hmm.
it's exciting.
Yeah. And so do you see the trade show business kind of evolving at this point? Because I know,
Yeah.
I mean, for years, the trade show part of even conferences tended to be the most wasteful piece of it.
Totally. And I think, I mean, I think the leadership that you're seeing from both Informa and
Mhm.
Emerald are really pushing that conversation. And I mean, that I would say is, one of maybe the most triggering of like this change, right? Like, Informa announcing that they have like their new Better Stands program where,
Yeah.
they are auditing every single one of their shows, and they're not allowed to have disposable displays anymore. Like, that's a huge shift, and maybe not as much in the US, but
Hmm.
over in Europe and Asia, like that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
And so, like changes like that, or when they say, we're eliminating carpet, or we're eliminating foam core, it's like when, Subway or something, like, what is it, when they were like the largest purchaser of tuna and they make a change, or
Right.
McDonald's. I was working with, I was helping out with Meet Green when at
Right.
the McDonald's when they announced that they were like making a shift to like cage-free eggs. And
Yeah.
that was like huge.
Yeah.
So, it's the same for, I think, the events industry when, Informa and, Emerald make big commitments like that. It pushes their suppliers.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the other things around this idea of culture of sustainability is, it feels to me like event planners in general, maybe not so much the new generation, as you said, but certainly people that have been in the business for a long time are just not climate literate enough. And
Mhm.
that, how do we go about educating people to just be more climate literate, to actually understand why it is that they need to adopt sustainable practices? What's the implications? What are the consequences? Just how do we get that education out there for people to, understand kind of the existential crisis that we're in around climate change and all that brings with it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like the question why, like, does, people in general don't like make
Well,
the
true
connection,
enough.
right, to, their actions and
Yeah.
what's happening around you. And I think everyone's motivation is different. I mean, to me, one of the things that's like, okay, are you having weather events that are affecting
Right.
your events? I've worked on, a few trade shows where they were, only, like a large portion of their exhibitors that were in Florida couldn't come. And so, how that affected their show. There's those pieces, I think, regulation as it happens, like maybe even if you're not necessarily inclined to implement more sustainable practices, but more and more municipalities are actually there's regulations put in there. I mean, Denver just passed an ordinance. It was a ballot initiative called Waste No More, and it requires compost and recycling front of house for every event and every venue in Denver. And so, like, whether you're on board or not for, recycling and compost front of house, like, you have to figure it out because
Right.
in order to get your, and I'm sure San Francisco has plenty of things like that too. So,
Well,
um,
California in general is now
yeah,
passing laws that basically
right.
mandate sustainability reporting. So
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Did that, yeah, pass with like for companies over $1 billion or
yeah.
something like that. It's just, so it's coming. I mean, of course, I think we both know it's more effective to bring someone on board because they want to do it, right?
Right.
Like, so how do you like create the norms? And to your point, I mean, it's unfortunately it's in some things that are so simple have become over complicated, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I remember people were like, how do you still have a job? Don't people know how to recycle? I'm like, somehow they don't. Because
Yeah, really.
somehow it is different everywhere still. And,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Well, not to mention which the whole recycling business has completely changed, and
So,
nobody even knows anymore what you can or can't recycle.
exactly. And yeah, and so it should be easier. And I guess when
Yeah.
you figure it out, tell me. I don't know.
So, we always talk about mostly kind of environmental issues when it comes to sustainability, but obviously there is the people side of things as well. So I'm kind of curious what you're talking about with your clients in terms of, you mentioned earlier, like working within communities and whatnot, but how do we start to bring kind of more of the people side of things into the sustainability conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think even aside from the sustainability piece of it, I think what's really cool when you're able to like incorporate a community into your events is it's making it's just a more exciting experience, right?
Yeah.
Like you're starting to really engage. You're not just going to XYZ conference in, Detroit. You're going
Right.
and you're experiencing like you're going to the conference in Detroit and then you're like getting to like experience that food and, what are they really known for? And like, what's, kind of all of those different elements of an event that like make it more than just, that make it exciting to go. And it's like why I would go back to an event
Right.
is you want to be able to experience where you're at. But I think beyond like just, the local, it's, really looking at, when we're talking with our clients around kind of those different elements, it's how do you make it more inclusive
Hmm.
for everyone for all, people to be able to come. And so whether, I thought this was really cool as you saw, was it like the New York Marathon now has like stops along the way for mothers to
Hmm.
breastfeed, and like there's like those different like lactation rooms. And so it's like how do you just like offer the amenities that make events more inclusive, and just making sure that you
Right.
have like diverse voices up
Right.
on stage, and not just the token one lactation room that's
Right.
hidden in the
Right.
corner that is actually an old storage room. Like how do you make it comfortable and
Right.
navigatable? And so really having those conversations. Another one that I think is really important and interesting is some of our clients have been offering like at happy hours and receptions and dinners, like non-alcoholic
Mm-hmm.
options that aren't just like soda or water. So
Hmm.
how do you like make those, so we have like one client who has like a whole area that's a whole separate bar that's like a devoted to non-alcoholic spirits and those types
Right.
of things. And so how do you kind of make even those social situations more inclusive and less awkward? And so
For
just
sure.
thinking like, okay, who's your audience? Who do we, what can we do here?
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. And who's your audience, but also, what does that community actually look like? I mean, the industry has been famous for, touting its economic impacts in all these places that they go to, but it oftentimes, that money goes to the hotels, or it goes into, the Chamber of Commerce, or it goes into, areas that you would normally think that it would go into. But what happens to the communities that are kind of outliers, that are disadvantaged or low income? How are we able to incorporate, more diversity in terms of looking for suppliers within those disadvantaged communities, and diversifying our supply chains, as well as diversifying our speakers on stage, for example?
Absolutely. I was talking with someone recently who was asking like, well, what do we do? Like, if you don't want people to have giveaways, like, what do you suggest exhibitors do? And it's like,
Hmm.
well, how about they give away like experiences within the local community, or gift cards to,
Yeah.
what's this like, local coffee shop? And also like remembering that, especially for large events, and I'd say like, Oracle or, those really big ones that
Hmm.
come, they can disrupt a community, right? And we work with a
Absolutely.
lot of, work with a lot of sports teams and venues as well. And
Yeah.
so we're
Yeah.
looking at like those stadiums, like when a game comes, like that entire neighborhood surrounding that is just gridlocked.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like thinking about how you're impacting just that very immediate, microcosm that is around there, like it is a big deal. And so, like, to your point, how do you let them share in some of that economic benefit, at least,
Yeah.
since they are the ones that are probably most directly impacted?
Yeah. Are you actively working with any of your clients around this idea of diversifying supply chains, and working more locally, and looking for kind of diverse and unusual vendors that maybe aren't traditional, to where hopefully you don't have to travel things quite as much?
Yeah, I mean, anytime we find like a new exciting, well, there's the local community, right? And when we do that, it's really working with like the local CBB,
Hmm.
really leaning on that insider knowledge, right? Because if I
Right.
go to Philadelphia, I don't know what's new and cool and interesting and,
Right.
what communities to tap into, but they sure do. And, so really sharing again that conversation, that back and forth with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, or whoever your resources within, the venue, like, hey, this is a goal of ours. We want to offer, and highlight just local wines at,
Yeah.
all of our receptions, like help us achieve that, or
Yeah.
those types of things for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you finding that your clients, like their procurement departments, are open to working with more diverse vendors? Because oftentimes, especially big corporations, I know this was always an issue at Oracle. It's like, there are preferred vendors, and if you don't work with those preferred vendors, it just is like, rolling a rock uphill to try and get new vendors into the system. How are you working around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really having a clear vision of
Mhm.
like, what is our objective here? What's our goal? And how does this vendor, how does this, policy fit into that? So if we're saying, and even, even going back to, obviously there's the economic impact, but using local saves a ton of, again, money on shipping, the carbon
Yeah.
impact of shipping. So,
Mhm.
going back to, okay, let's like measure this out. Like, if we were to order from, our regular, supplier that's, 1,000 miles away, sure, maybe this one's a little bit more expensive, like per unit or whatever, but there's no cost for the shipping. Whereas that one, then we're incurring an extra $2,000 to like actually ship it here. And
Yeah,
so like really
exactly.
comparing the apples to apples, not the, but they have to know, like everyone, to your point, has to be on board. They all have to have a
Right.
clear understanding of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and they have to kind of think outside the box every
Yeah,
once in a while, or
totally. But that's like,
go rogue, as our friend Don
yeah.
would
But
say.
I'd like much rather drink, a local wine than like the standard wine that's, provided by Cisco or, like that's more
Yeah,
exciting to me anyways, or the
yeah.
local beer or, the local food. So, no.
Are there other sort of people side issues that you are particularly interested in? Like there's this whole kind of health and wellness movement going on at this point. Is that something that some of your clients are starting to incorporate, and how are they doing it?
Yeah, so we are definitely seeing, an increase of, having an offering of, healthy, like fitness options. And I
Hmm.
think one thing we're seeing a lot more of as well is, you know, eliminating red meat from their menus. Like, how are you off? Like, we really try to encourage our clients to like have a vegetarian option that's not just like the side like rice pilaf or whatever, like, and so how do you
Right.
like creatively do that? I mean, I think
Yeah.
I had one of my most incredible experiences with that at this was PCMA 2020, like right before everything
Mm.
shut down, but at the Moscone Center, like
Uh-huh.
they did like a vegetarian meal, and I thought it was one of the like the best meal. And I'm not a vegetarian, like I just
Right.
wanted to, but it was one of the best meals I'd had at a convention center. And so really being creative there. And also, I think another thing that we're having conversations with our clients, like there's the health and wellness for your attendees, but what are you doing for the people that are like working your show as well?
Exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly.
so, like, maybe you have the massage table out there and all that, but what about your staff and like, how are
Mhm.
you meeting their needs? And so really, challenging them to like focus that on staff as well. We have a lot more clients that are looking at, safety and kind of looking into wellness, like
Yeah.
what is the code of conduct, how, having people to walk you from the hotel to the convention center, like all of those types of things as well. So I just think the conversation is just
Right.
expanding, which is really great.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we start to kind of wind down here, I just wanted to ask you, kind of, I know that we want people to kind of just start wherever they can start and whatever makes sense, but I'm also kind of just interested in how do we be more ambitious? How do we create bigger goals, and how do we
Yeah.
actually get to decarbonization? How do we actually get to zero waste? And I'm just kind of curious in terms of what you're thinking about and how to be more ambitious with with ourselves and with our attendees and with all of our stakeholders.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually like a really thought-provoking question because I think, our I guess our like fallback is like to start where you start, and but it's like at what point, to your point, like that's not enough anymore. Like you have
Exactly.
to kind of just, yeah, I would say like, okay, measure where you're at and then make your plan from there. But I think time's ticking. And
Yeah.
so I think you just really have to commit to it. And I think you have to really be, I guess, firm in that commitment. And, it is, it does have to start with measurement and really like an assessment of like what you're doing. But then
Right.
you have to be able to like be willing to take the risk to like shake up your way of doing things. Like
Yeah.
I was at a conference recently that was like focused on, sustainability, and the whole conversation turned to like talking about carpet and how we can't eliminate carpet. And it's like, why?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like, at what point do we just say like, that's a stupid way of doing things,
Right.
and it's time to shift? And
Yeah.
so like, I think we do need to be a little bit bolder and a little bit riskier, and like, and frankly, yes, there will be times, I worked in events, and they were trying to eliminate all badges and just have like they were just like a wristband thing.
Right.
And it was like, well, I've been to two shows.
Uh-huh.
One in Frankfurt, and they did that. Yeah, it was just, I don't even think you had like a wrist thing. I think you just used your phone to get in and out, and
Hmm.
that was totally fine. No one cared that you didn't know if someone was like a buyer or, just like someone's cousin. Like,
Right.
it was just like, that was fine. But the other show that I saw that happen with, and they still had a wristband, the exhibitors were pushed back so hard that they didn't know who their buyers were, like, and so, the show went back into having the lanyards, which fine, but so it's like, okay, fine, like a more environmentally friendly, like it doesn't have to be a lanyard with plastic, but it's okay
Right.
to make those risks. And
Right.
then and it's also okay that you're gonna get pushed back, but then you assess like, okay, are those just some loud like minority, or is that like a true like honest
Yeah.
feedback? And then be okay continuing to push forward.
Yeah, and I think you do have to try things and then adjust. I mean, again, going back to the Green Biz Verge conference last month, I interviewed Joel
Oh
McCower
yeah.
from Green Biz, and he was telling the story of like they tried to go completely vegetarian with their food menu one year, and apparently it was a big disaster because the food was terrible and nobody wanted to eat it, and so they had to like shift back. And the question then becomes, okay, you know, if you've got a good objective like that, how do you communicate it to your attendees? How do you communicate it to your internal stakeholders or any of your stakeholders? And then how do you also make that sure that that experience is actually a good experience as opposed to a bad experience? Because I think one of the things that I've been thinking about is like, as we've always talked about, sustainability tends to be an add-on or a kind of an afterthought a lot of times around events. It's like, how do we get to the place where the event experience is enhancing sustainability as opposed to the other way around?
Absolutely. And yeah, that it's like it's an exciting component of
Yeah.
the event, and it's yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any last thoughts, anything that you want to, any advice or anything that you want to tell our audience about what you're working on and what you are, hoping to see from the event industry going forward?
I mean, I think I'll just say like I am optimistic. Um, and that may be naive, I don't know, but I am optimistic that the conversation is, more, I guess, more advanced than I've ever seen. I will say, there is still a lot of work to be done, and but it's important work, and it's, it just we have to do better,
Yeah.
and it just is what it is. And there are resources out there, and there are so many new vendors and people that want to help, and you just have to
Yeah.
just ask your existing vendors, and just be brave. I
Yeah.
guess. Also,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, sustainability is not an easy thing. It can get quite complex the more that you get into it. But I think you're right that the upcoming generation has taken a positive view towards how they want to see the world, and hopefully that ends up being a good thing for the whole industry.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Lindsay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today. and a great conversation, and look forward to seeing what you guys continue to work on down the road.
Thank you so much, Paul. Yeah, it was
right.
really awesome to catch up with you.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
feel honored. So thanks for inviting me. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Okay, you too.
Okay. All right. We are back live. Jody, maybe if you can start my video again, that would be great. So that was a great conversation. I just want to reiterate a couple of things that we talked about just to wrap up here. I'm going to ask that same question again. Something for all of us to think about is like, how do we make the event experience integrate and enhance sustainability versus the other way around, so that sustainability isn't just an add-on to what it is that we're trying to do. And then, do attendees understand and contribute to a culture of event sustainability? What actions do we ask of them? How do we communicate it to them? And the same questions for all the other stakeholders, for suppliers, partners, destinations, venues, all of your internal stakeholders, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we're going to do our little giveaway right now. So Jody, do you want to do your little spin wheel? Again, this is from One Hotel. And we'll see who we're giving it away to. If Jody's ready to do it.
I am. I wanted to show it, but it's not doing it.
Oh, okay.
The winner is Tommy Murphy.
Congratulations, Tommy. There's great little stuff in that tote bag, so enjoy. Okay, just to wrap up again, thank you to our Patio Perspective sponsor, One Hotel. We really appreciate them. And thank you to all of our Society for Sustainable Event 2023 sponsors. We could not do these events and could not do Patio Perspectives without their ongoing support. So we appreciate all of them very, very much. So again, we're taking a pause in December. And checked LinkedIn for topics, guest speaker announcements, and links. We will be back in January with Patio Perspectives number 8. Everybody, please have a great holiday season, and we will see you in the new year. Thank you so much for being here today. Take care. Bye-bye.